Hi friends, I am Srini Edavali and you're watching Srini Unplugged. Please do like this video, share and subscribe, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Friends, I know that I have not been able to make a video from the last 4 to 5 days. The reason being we are in the midst of Ganesh Navaratri. So first and foremost, I wish you all a belated Ganesh Chaturthi festival. And I would also like to wish you all a very happy Ganesh Navaratri Utsavams. Okay, so that's what I wanted to begin this video with. And with that said, friends, uh, if you recall, I have made a video on why the Birmingham City Work Council went bankrupt sometime back. All right, and in that video, I briefly touched upon a concept of wokeism. Okay, how one of the concepts of wokeism was primarily responsible for the current state of the Birmingham City Council. All right, friends. After that, I felt it is important to make a complete series on wokeism and why it is more dangerous than beneficial to the society and the world. Okay, having said that, I also realized that it is practically not possible for me to take you directly into the world of wokeism because wokeism draws a lot of its ideologies from various other isms, okay, communism, Marxism, socialism, so on and so forth. So I felt that it is important that I basically make it beginning by making you understand what are the various isms that we have, and from there we can get into the wokeism at the towards the end as a series ending what do you call topic. So that's where we'll get a fair overview and idea of what wokeism is all about. Okay, so if you start and search in Google what are the various isms or ideologies that exist in the in the globe today, you'll find a lot of them. You ask ChatGPT, you ask Google Bard, the AI tools, and just type various social and political and economic ideologies. What are you going to get? You and specifically with the end term called ISM. Okay, so you'll get Marxism, you'll get postmodernism, you'll get socialism, you'll get communism, you'll get fascism, you get postmodernism, you get a lot of other isms to begin with. Okay, but the area of interest that we have, and by the way, Jaya friends, when you start, looking at all these ISMs towards the end, we have democracy and monarchism also. Okay, so a lot of ideologies which are there, and all of them work in the current global scenarios. All right. So with that said, what our area of interest is going to be in this video is we'll start with Marxism. Okay, because that's the heart of wokeism. I think when I say heart of wokeism, I'm just referring to 70% of wokeism comes from there, and it has a lot of interplay over there. All right, and so I'll explain you the interplay of wokeism with other ISMs as well. But let's get started with Marxism. So, what is Marxism? Okay, so Marxism is basically, if you got to go and understand that, our friends actually in the early 19th century, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, okay, two Germans, they set out in the journey. Okay, what was the journey all about? They wanted to understand, why there are differences existing in the world. Okay, why somebody is rich, why somebody is poor. Okay, why somebody is well doing, why somebody is not doing. They wanted to study, this entire historic concept. Okay, context to be very precise. They went into detailed journey regarding that, and their journey led them to a historic what do you call assessment of where all it started. Okay, how did this inequalities came into existence? So they formulated, and over a period of time, they formulated something called Marxism, and Marxism even stands today. It is very valid even today as well. Okay, that concept of Marxism, which basically studied, various inequalities for the last 500 to 1,000 years, they took that up and they came with their own ism called Marxism. Okay, so what was their what do you call thesis or core foundation on which this particular idea was formulated. Okay, so if you look at Marxism, right, the core heart and ideology of Marxism stems from historical materialism. Okay, historical materialism. It's a very new term, right? So I'll explain to you. So you might ask, what is historical materialism, Srinivas? So the question is, it has, it is self-explanatory to be very precise, historical and materialism, okay? How materialism was driven in the historic era. So, for an example, if you go back to the, prehistoric era, around, 14th, 15th century kind of a period, and, let's look at, the greater Europe. At that point of time, the entire Europe was, ruled and governed by feudals. Now, who are these feudals? Again, a new term, right? Feudals are nothing but landlords. To be very honest, in a simplistic term, feudals are landlords. They control a vast amount of land, and that lands are basically given to peasants. Peasants again is, in a simple terms, farmers. Okay, so lands are given to farmers. Farmers works on the land, and the feudal lords get 70% or 80% of the share. The farmers or the peasants actually get a small portion of the share just to take care of the survival. Okay, this is what was the system at that particular point of time. Okay, now look at the inequality over there. One gentleman or one family having majority of the land, and minor. When I say one person or individual, that's basically a minority group, right? Maybe if you look at 10, 20, 30, 50 landlords, but if you take back the kind of population that used to exist as peasants, that might be more than 5 times, 10 times, 20 times that of this particular group. Okay, if this group had 50 people, the peasant or farmer community had 500 to 5,000 people. So this was a like of a minority group, okay, dominating the majority farmers. Okay, huge inequality. What happens after that? Okay, what happens after that is, in the late 15th century, early 16th century, you have Gutenberg printing press invention. Okay, now this printing press invention, along with that, other inventions also follow, but this is a breakthrough. It opens a Pandora's box. Why? Because the knowledge is printed, that is disseminated across the length and breadth of the communities that existed out there. People were taught in terms of how to read that information and acquaint themselves or gain the specific knowledge. So once people started gaining knowledge, okay, in terms of what is happening, what is the kind of inequalities that they are facing and other things, slowly but steadily the feudalistic system also started to have a change as an economic system. Okay, once these particular set of people, like the peasants and farmers, started becoming more and more knowledgeable, the vulnerability and exploitation part slowly but steadily started to decline. The next important point is basically, along with this, industrialization also started to happen in a small and a decent way. Okay, basically mechanization of processes and automation of the early 15th, 16th century. Okay, at that level of time, what was the automation required? Those automations came into the picture, and slowly but steadily, the feudalism gave away to something called a socialistic society. Now, what is a socialistic society? A socialistic society is the one where it is not governed by something like feudal lords. Okay, they are not the owners and the governors. They said, let's all together come together and figure out, as a social ecosystem, how do we make sure that whom do we select, whom do we elect, and entire society is taken care of in good faith. So socialism came in. Somehow there were a few faults here and there in the socialism ecosystem, and from socialism, via socialism, came the communism system. So communism system is basically the one where people say there are no classes. Okay, communism talks about classless society. Okay, there is no merchant class, landlord or feudal class. There is no your peasant class or farmer class, right? Everybody is equal in communism. But in practical reality, if you look at today, there are only 2-3 states which are communist in nature: China and Russia. Now, China, you look at, we know what kind of communism it follows. For the namesake, it is a communist society, but in reality, it's basically completely monarchy in a sense, right? Because Uncle Jai basically controls most of what should and what must happen in China. And to some extent the case with Russia as well. Okay, but Russia is kind of a little bit more open in terms of at least listening to people and various governments. So that's where communism comes into. But friends, the whole idea is these 4 concepts. Okay, what we spoke about just now, the Marxism. So Marxism basically has two most important components. One is that there is a, if you look at the feudalistic society that we just discussed now, in feudalism, what was happening? Feudalism, you had a person or a group of person controlling vast lands, and then they were exploiting the farmers or peasants. So what Karl Marx and Frederick Engels said was, there is an oppressor who is the landlord, and there is an oppressed, which is a peasant and the merchant. So their entire philosophy is structured in an oppressor and oppressed equation. Okay, that was the thesis or the foundation principle of Marxism. Okay, then of course there are other things also, but prima facie what they say is that in Marxism, what you will find is the oppressor and the oppressed, and this system should be dismantled. So just now as we discussed, when industrialization happened, that slowly led to socialism, to communism. Okay, so these transitions happened, right? Even today, if you look at, there are Marxism still exists because in a new avatar, in a new format called Wokeism. Because if you look at Wokeism per se, they say that there is existence of oppressor and the oppressed. So if there is an oppressor and the oppressed, that system should be dismantled. Okay, like what happened in the early 16th century, invention of Gutenberg printing press. What did it do? It basically enlightened the people, and then the oppressor system gave way to socialistic society. From socialistic society, people derived the communistic society as well. Okay, so this is what has happened, friends. So what I'm trying to say is that before we get into the Wokeism part of it, as we just discussed, it's important to understand Marxism. So Marxism basically talks about, as I mentioned in details, it talks about the oppressor and the oppressed, and there should not be a system like this to make sure that everybody is treated equal. So the next possible step is dismantle a system where oppressor and oppressed system exists. Okay, that should be taken away. So that's what the Marxism's core philosophy is all about. Friends, with that, I think we'll end this video over here, because we need to discuss the other aspects of the postmodernism, socialism, and communism, and the biggest thing, okay, capitalism. We'll get there, and after this, we get into capitalism. We'll get into the complete interplay of Wokeism with all these various isms or philosophies. All right, friends. With that, I come to this end. I come to the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to press the bell icon. Friends, I'd also request you all to please share your valuable inputs and feedback on this particular video. Basically, it helps me kind of curate the content and present you, what you love the most, and make sure that we interact with each other as a family, and grow with each other as a family. So that's the whole idea. Friends, once again, thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, have a great day. Jai Hind. भारत माता की जय।